First, I want to thank you for being here, and I also want to recognize that while there are 4 of us up here, dozens at the University of Iowa have been working hard day in and day out to get our campus ready for the students and for us to continue our missions of higher education related to teaching, research, service, and patient care. Many thank yous to those who have spent many hours and hard work to get our campus ready. I'm going to read from these comments because I don't want to make them general. We can certainly follow up, but I do apologize a bit. I'm going to read from the comments to make sure that we have all of our bases covered. As we prepare to start the fall semester, the University of Iowa is taking deliberate steps to reduce the risk of exposure to COVID-19 for our students, faculty, and staff, as well as our surrounding community. In order to support the choice of our students and their families, the university has adopted a blended approach to instruction this fall, which combines both in-person and online instruction. As we know, the experience will be different in many ways from what it has been in the past. The goal is to provide as much choice and certainty as possible to our campus community while aligning with the guidance from the Board of Regents State of Iowa, the Iowa Department of Public Health, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We value the feedback of our students and faculty, with more than 30,000 students and thousands of faculty and staff at the University of Iowa. Opinions vary greatly regarding how our campus should operate for the fall semester, and we appreciate all of those perspectives. Reducing the risk of exposure to COVID-19 for everyone in the Iowa community is critical to our shared mission of teaching, research, service, and patient care. This requires shared responsibility. This is obviously very important, and the university expects our faculty, staff, and students to take reasonable precautions to protect their fellow colleagues, themselves, and the local community. To protect employee health and safety, students, faculty, and staff must wear applicable face coverings. These would be disposable or cloth masks and/or face shields in all University of Iowa buildings, including classrooms, unless alone in a private office. The university will provide each student, faculty, and staff member with 2 cloth masks, 2 disposable masks, 1 face shield, and a small hand sanitizer to get this fall semester started. Sarah will be displaying that kit to you as we go forward. All students are being asked to complete a brief online training session to educate everyone on the UI policies and expectations surrounding COVID-19. Additionally, employees outside of UI Healthcare are also being asked to complete a brief online training session regarding COVID-19 and the related policies and expectations. Building upon what personal steps the University of Iowa expects from our community, the university has developed building-by-building plans to manage issues that include circulation, ventilation, cleaning and disinfecting, elevators, plexiglass shields, restrooms, and touchless options. We know that every family must consider its individual circumstances when determining what they will do for the fall semester. We all truly appreciate the work that's being done and has been done by our faculty and staff as we get ready for this fall semester 2020. And we say thank you in advance to our students for helping the Hawkeye community to reduce the risk of exposure and spread of COVID-19. Thank you. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Dan Fick.
Good morning. As we prepare to return to campus, some students and families are asking if the university will require students to be tested for COVID-19 before moving into the residence halls. We recognize this may provide some comfort for families, but it is not recommended by the CDC or the Iowa Department of Public Health for the following reasons. One-time testing only provides data for a specific point in time and can miss cases in the early stages of infection, giving students a false sense of security. One-time testing requires significant resources including trained staff to conduct the tests, personal protective equipment, and physical face for conducting testing safely and ensuring privacy. Poorly administered mass testing can result in damaged or inconclusive results and excessive false negatives. For this reason, the university is focusing its resources on CDC recommended infection prevention measures, including reduced campus density, modifying classrooms and facilities to promote social distancing, providing and mandating cloth face coverings, and enhanced cleaning and disinfection. The University of Iowa is prepared to test symptomatic individuals and asymptomatic individuals with a known COVID-19 exposure in coordination with Johnson County Public Health. We will only administer tests approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. A student who believes they have been exposed to the virus or is experiencing symptoms such as fever, cough, difficulty breathing should call or email the student health nurse line. The university will proactively engage with students throughout the semester to gauge their health and well-being and provide resources to support both their physical and mental health. The University of Iowa is coordinating with the Johnson County Department of Public Health on a unified response for contact tracing and disease investigation for University of Iowa community members. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Okay. We're looking forward to welcoming our students back to campus, and we have a whole host of staff and student leaders who've been working very hard to prepare for engaging our students and supporting them this fall, even though it's a little bit different of a fall. Our move-in schedule into the residence halls, which begins August 14th with a drop and go move-in option, is intended to allow appropriate social distancing, which is critical to limit the spread of COVID-19. New students will begin moving in on Monday, August 17th. University Housing and Dining is committed to providing an organized move-in experience for students and families that limits the potential for exposure to COVID-19. To aid in social distancing, residence hall buildings will only have between 8 and 20 students move in per hour based on pre-selected time slots. Housing and Dining is also implementing health measures to limit exposure during the move-in process based on guidance from the CDC, IDPH, and campus experts. These measures include requiring students to select a date and time to move in advance, limiting students to 2 guests to help with moving, requiring face coverings to be worn by everyone who enters a residence hall. In order to maintain social distancing, we aren't using our typical volunteers this fall to assist students with unloading their vehicles. Carts, which will be sanitized before and after each use, will be provided for students and families to use during move-in. Students and their move-in helpers will have an hour to unload their car and then need to relocate their car to a designated parking lot. After they've moved their car, they can go back to the student's room to assist their Hawkeye with unpacking. As many of you know, our orientation over the summer was virtual and still went very, very well for our students. They've been able to have Hawkeye Hangouts, which are electronic gatherings with fellow new incoming students as well as their orientation leaders. In addition, our On Iowa Welcome Week has been modified, with many events being offered virtually or with a blended approach. This is our 10th year of the On Iowa program, and while I'm disappointed that we can't do our traditional gatherings like the Eye on Kinnick Stadium, the On Iowa team has really done a tremendous job of creating welcoming and engaging activities that students can participate in. This includes virtual activities such as bingo, and believe it or not, bingo usually attracts over 1,000 students every year during On Iowa, to pottery painting, where students can pick up a piece for their residence hall room, paint it, and return it to be fired. We also have grounds tours of campus using social distancing, small group sessions with social distancing, and a virtual option for folks who are more comfortable, scavenger hunts, and Netflix movie parties, among many, many other things. Lots of ways for students to meet each other, to get engaged, get to know campus, and prepare for the start of classes. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Provost Kriegel.
Good morning. I'm going to be discussing some of the instructional activities and classroom experience that the students will be encountering when they come onto campus. I first want to acknowledge all of our faculty, instructors, and teaching assistants who've been preparing a blended approach to instruction this fall. It's been a huge amount of work, but I think we're in really good shape at this point. As you may have heard from my colleagues, we've implemented many policies and procedures to reduce the spread of COVID, especially in the classroom setting at this point, as well as in the residence halls and throughout the buildings on campus. Implementing these policies has created room for choice for our students, families, and our instructors. And this choice has been working. For instance, we've now got significantly more than half of our undergraduate courses available in an online or blended format. These choices were created by our efforts to de-densify the campus and by working with our instructors to provide classroom options. You may know that courses with enrollments of 50 or more students were moved to an online format. There are a few exceptions, and even in those cases, we've made sure we had de-densified classroom spaces. The default for our online courses is live or asynchronous type of an approach, and we've stressed to our faculty the importance of having students with an opportunity to have live interaction with instructors and other students. That is certainly an opportunity that the students desire when they engage in these kinds of courses, is to have that direct interaction with the faculty and students. The courses that we have as a hybrid, those would be lecture and discussion sections or a lecture lab format. The larger lecture section is typically going to be online, while the smaller discussion lab sections could remain in person. However, they could also be focused on stand-up discussion sections that then will match with the lecture content itself. We're working to ensure that each of our first-year students has at least one face-to-face course as well. In many cases, there'll be certainly more than one course. Some additional actions we've been taking over the summer to prepare for the fall semester are such things as installation of additional cameras and audiovisual equipment in every university classroom. We've been supporting the development of teaching exercises to accommodate social distancing in the classroom. We've provided assistance to instructors and our teaching assistants for converting their courses to an online format. We have a remote instruction team, and they've provided a range of assistance to our instructors, including individual consulting sections. We've had virtual workshops, providing media kits available for checkout by the instructors, expanded studio space on campus where where the instructors can record their lectures. We've also, since mid-May, responded to almost 300 requests for technical assistance from our instructors. Additionally, since midway up to the end of July, we've provided almost 900 individuals with workshop opportunities to enhance their ability to plan for the semester. In addition to these workshops, there's been an orientation designed specifically for teaching assistants, and that will begin in the next few weeks. We've, at this point, had over 250 of our TAs registered for those workshops. And importantly, as we move forward into the fall semester, as we noted during the spring transition, ITS, Information Technology Services, and the Dean of Students Office, in collaboration with our colleges, will continue to work with our students who need access to technology, including computers and internet connection, to ensure that they can participate in online courses. The choice of our community is supported by two different processes that we've availed to students and our instructors. Those are a temporary alternative learning arrangement, as well as a temporary alternative work arrangement for our instructional faculty. And with that, we're glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, Dan, if you want to answer that on our measurement system.
Yes, so we're in the process of finalizing our campus-wide metrics that we will be using, that university leadership will be using. We'll be looking at the virus activity, our ability to test, our ability to trace any infections. We are looking at how campus faculty, students, and staffs are in isolation, quarantine, campus operations, critical operations, ability of courses and classrooms, residence halls, capacity, looking at statewide metrics, other universities' proclamations that are going on at the state, and then community, our activity, what's happening in our school districts and childcare. So it's a broad range of metrics, and we are finalizing those, and the actual metrics will be available for campus and public review.
So, I know you talked a little bit about why not testing is coming in and that it might give a false sense of security. Some have pointed to the fact that you could use that information in an academic way to sort of isolate the quarantine. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about why not take that information, or is it about resources, or, I wonder if you can talk more about the decision not to test.
We're looking at the possibility of testing. We have to look at large groups of asymptomatic individuals. We need to look at the test and how it performs in that group population, and when even tests that are very good, when the incidence of the disease is very small, you run the risk of having a large number of false positives, and then there's consequences to that. And then if you try and use tests that have, say, poor sensitivity, then you have a lot, potentially false negatives. So, we have to try and balance testing and what we're going to accomplish. When we're reviewing specifically guidelines, the CDC, the American College Health Association, the Iowa Department of Public Health, and even our own Johnson County did not recommend testing these students. The tests that most use, by the time you get the positive results, many of those students are no longer infectious. And so you'd be pulling out students, that potentially wouldn't have that ability to provide or to spread the virus. And then in addition, you're missing a lot of the early students that are early in the infection that potentially would have a false sense of security. So when you're looking at how you mitigate a situation like this, the number one activity is promoting the healthy behaviors. We're going to limit the spread on campus by having all of our campus members social distance, wear a mask, wash their hands, and try and minimize those behaviors that can spread the virus on campus.
Do you know if any students who've already moved in have self-reported having tested positive?
I'm not aware that we have at this point. Yeah, I don't think so.
Hey, Zachary Smith, I was interested in, I was wondering if you guys had any, you mentioned the cost of testing, if we were to test in-home classes, expensive or
I think the ballpark for a PCR test is about $100. It's $100 per test. So you can do the arithmetic pretty quickly on what that would cost.
In addition, there's been a number of faculty members subscribing students sign on to letters asking for the hot quarter of the university to go fully online. Have you guys had influence in the decision making informing this plan? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the question, in case others didn't question, was regarding feedback that we are receiving or have received, and some interested in or concerned about not going fully online. I think that was the question you asked. Please. Oh, how about that? All right, so I just repeated his question, but I did it without a microphone, so maybe you didn't hear me. It is regarding the feedback that we receive and have received from some interested in or concerned about whether or not the university should go online or fully online. Throughout the process of our getting ready for this fall semester, we have continued to work with our shared governance leadership. That'd be faculty and staff leaders, as well as undergraduate and graduate and professional student leaders. It's an important part of our university, always has been, and continues to be even more so in this environment. And so we continue to feed back and forth our information on that front. keep in mind that we have more than 30,000 students and thousands of faculty and staff, and so the range of both opinions or positions or feedback or concerns are many, and all of them matter to us and help as the critical incident management team and college leaders and the university staff continue to ready this campus. Our goal is to make sure that we provide as much choice and as much certainty as we're able in this environment, while aligning to the Board of Regents, State of Iowa objectives, and also, as I mentioned earlier, the Iowa Department of Public Health and the CDC. We want to provide choice, and we know with respect to some of our either students or families, they must take into account, should take into account their personal situations, and we are working, as Kevin indicated, we are working with each of those in maximizing opportunities to continue to learn here, be it in an online or a hybrid format, or for many in a face-to-face.
You talk about the importance of choice. Some graduate students and TAs have said they don't feel that they have a choice, and I'm wondering if you could talk about what's required to opt out of in-person teaching. Some have said they have to provide medical documentation and different things like that to go online.
Yeah, sure. I might turn to Kevin. Kevin, can you talk a bit about that, please?
The process we do have is to allow any individual employee to fill out a form. It's the temporary alternative work arrangements process, and so it does get evaluated at HR, and there are a whole set of accommodations or conditions and situations that would allow individuals to be assigned, say, to an online course. So we're actively engaging in those processes right now with both faculty, other instructors, and graduate TAs. Can you repeat that?
The conditions.
What the conditions are? Well, certainly if they have a pre-existing condition themselves, if they have a situation with an individual, say, that they're living with or caring for, those circumstances certainly are ones that take into account with evaluation of those requests.
If a person doesn't have any pre-existing conditions, doesn't have any medical issues, doesn't live with their at-risk family, but doesn't feel personally like they would prefer to do online, is that an option?
That is a decision that would be discussed with the individual as well as their department chair and the dean. So there are processes where people can be discussing what an individual's options are for the fall semester, certainly.
Yeah.
So students will be, have availability testing through the Student Health Service. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way to handle the testing. I wouldn't frame it as one way to do it. In interacting weekly with our UNI and Iowa State colleagues and even the Big Ten institutions, you realize there's no two institutions that are using the same exact mitigation strategies. So when we specifically at the University of Iowa were looking to decide on the testing policy, again, we consulted the CDC guidance, the Iowa Department of Public Health, Johnson County, and the American College Health Association. And then we also discussed it in detail with our campus medical and public health experts. And we felt the path we are on at this point to make sure we have testing available for all symptomatic patients, faculty, and staff, and also close contacts was the strategy we'd be using.
He did. We typically release publicly at the census period at the beginning of September, as we have the students arrive on campus, check in, and finalize their process, and then move into the residence halls. So our typical process is at the beginning of the semester census period.
But are you expecting a major change in enrollment this fall, given the pandemic?
Not a major change, no. I mean, as the president reported at the Board of Regents, we feel fairly positive about the students coming to campus this fall.
Will the cost of the classes that have moved online be similar to that as they were in person?
Yeah, the tuition, if you're speaking of the tuition for the University of Iowa, which is set by the Board of Regents, has been set for the fall semester. We've worked hard to make sure we're a highly ranked university. This is only partially related. We're a highly ranked university on an online format, and it is a moment when I'd also like to thank our IT teams who have been tirelessly working last spring to get our campus ready for that sudden need to go fully online, learning from that, and then working with the faculty who have been also working hard to get ready for this fall semester, so that whether fully online, hybrid type of class, or face-to-face, they carry the same high level of education we expect for the University of Iowa. And on that front, we will stay consistent with respect to the Board of Regents approved and directed tuition.
Is there space for quarantine or isolation within student housing if a list is adopted, and if so, what's that process look like?
Yeah, sure, Sarah, you can take that. Or Dan.
Yes, so we have designated rooms for both in each of the dorms for students that are in isolation and also students that would need to quarantine.
Are you asking students to take these steps to avoid risky behaviors like hosting fake parties or treat them like require things that time sometimes?
Yeah, so we do have a training module that all students are required to complete online, and then they sign an acknowledgement of the expectations to practice the protective behaviors. And we also have guidance, of course, campus guidance around size of gatherings, and student organizations are a part of that as well, so that they'll be held accountable through those processes. In a kind of thinking about trying to focus on compliance from a norming perspective, we also have a whole set of student leaders that are going to be engaged in peer kind of support activities. So they're going to have Mask Me booths and hand out masks. Masks will be available all over the place for students who might have misplaced or forgotten their mask, and promoting some of the data that we have that shows the support of preventive measures as well.
I'm sure you all saw there were some discussion on social media, and there were some students who protested outside before this with President Harold, and some of them asked why he's not here today. I sort of asked that question, like, how involved has he been in some of these decisions?
President Harold, who will be coming to, he teaches a course at the university and is planning his return for the fall semester, has been very engaged and folded in. As we've all learned, all of us have learned in this virtual world put upon us, and in fact, by our procedures, it's required that all on-campus classes are virtual, or all campus meetings are virtual when we think about the operations of a university. We've become more and more used to that environment, and President Harold has been part of that with us, really expanding the campus virtually through Zoom or Skype. And so he's been very engaged on a regular, everyday basis with the university, as have others who may be working from home, for instance. A large percentage of our university operation has been working from home, and we continue with all of those operations to encourage that. We're better to have a less compact campus when the students do come back, and so many have become used to it, and thanks to our IT teams and people's patience and efforts, the president's not a whole lot different than a lot of other employees in effectively working as a team, often from a remote location or a home location or on a computer screen.
So you're saying you can run the university virtually, but we
Well,
One for all you administrators, and then another standard for graduate students and for undergrads taking classes.
we're not all, we're not,
That's a risk, but you can run the university virtually.
no, we're,
It makes sense to me.
okay. For those who are doing transactional work, where their work is spent on a computer all day, those are the courses, the units that are determining whether or not those people need to come to campus, park on campus, walk and be in the buildings on campus, with our efforts to maximize social distancing on the campus for the students that come. Many of us are on campus and working on campus, but doing so according to the protocol we have for working on campus. Pardon? Correct.
I'm afraid that we are at 11:02 and I promise that I just didn't do time. I apologize for that, but thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you for following the mask requirements. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.